Hello and welcome to Brain Power. I'm your host Thomas Trombley, and we'll be discussing topics ranging from current news, world events, and religion, basically whatever bit of news that catches my eye. If you have a story you'd like covered here or a question you'd like answered, send me a message on Twitter at BrainPowerUp. Use the hashtag BrainPowerUp, like the group at facebook.com/BrainPowerOnline, or visit the website at brainpoweronline.webs.com. Now, today is actually Monday, August 10th. I'd just like to apologize to all my listeners. Normally, I try to keep to the Sunday schedule as much as possible, but I really don't have any excuses. I was actually hanging out with a friend over the weekend, and this show actually slipped my mind. We had a weekend of drinking beer and playing video games, and it's. Can you really blame me for letting things slip there? Anyway, the other upside though to me missing out on it yesterday is I was able to grab a few stories that I had found today, and we'll go ahead and work some of those in. But I think the first thing that I'm going to start out with is the fact that first out, I should have almost like some kind of a sound effect just for him now. Some kind of a... He's talking about Donald Trump. Yes, Donald Trump has made his way into the show again. I'm beginning to think he's like the unofficial anti-mascot for me now. But... Anyway, like I said, he's back in the news. Well, I shouldn't say he's never left the news, but this is just a story talking about how over the years he has put out his anti-vax ideas. Donald Trump has publicly spoken out about the dangers of vaccinations and has said he believes that vaccines cause autism. Now, acknowledging that the subject matter is controversial, Trump said, "I couldn't care less. I've seen people where they have a perfectly healthy child and they go for the vaccinations and a month later the child is no longer healthy." I've gotten to be pretty familiar with the subject, Trump went on to say. I have a theory, and it's a theory that some people believe in, and that's the vaccinations. We never had anything like this. This is now an epidemic. First up, before I continue with this story, I don't know why in my head I'm making Donald Trump sound like Richard Nixon, but it's whatever. It's kind of the same level of intelligence there, I guess. It's way, way up over the past 10 years. It's way up over the past 2 years. And when you take a little baby that weighs like 12 pounds into a doctor's office and they pump them with many, many simultaneous vaccinations, I'm all for vaccinations, but I think that when you add all those vaccinations together, and then 2 months later the baby is so different, then lots of things have happened, really. I've known cases. Here's a couple polls from his Twitter feed, the @RealDonaldTrump. Healthy young child goes to doctor, gets pumped with massive shot of many vaccines, doesn't feel good and changes. Autism. Many such cases. Another good one. This is actually from last September, though. Pardon. I'm being proven right about massive vaccinations. The doctors lied. Save our children and their future. If I were president, I would push for proper vaccinations, but would not allow one-time massive shots that a small child cannot take. Autism. I still find it funny that people can have any kind of belief that autism is caused by vaccinations. If that was the case, then everyone who gets vaccinations would get autism. I know that throughout my lifetime I've had I've been kept up to date with my vaccinations when I was a kid, and I may be a little off center now, but I don't think that's due to I don't think that's due to the vaccinations. I don't have autism. I don't have any kind of uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, either way, I mean, there's really nothing wrong with my brain. I'm just weird. That's all. Anyway, speaking of Donald Trump, though, and the fact that he's running for the presidency, uh, this was August 6th. That was what, Thursday. There was the big RNC debate, which some have taken to calling the Donald Trump show, because it's kind of what it was. I mean, I tried. I didn't watch it myself, mainly because I didn't see any point in figuring out which one of the Republicans I would like the most, because it's kind of like choosing which way you're gonna die, and none of them are quick and easy. It's really, there is no appealing option, but that's my personal thoughts. Anyway, the frontrunner grabbed so much attention at last night's Republican debate that some commentators are calling it the Donald Trump show. But there's plenty of disagreement on whether the debate helped his campaign or those of the 9 rivals that made the cut. Here's what the pundits are saying. Trump made the rest of the candidates look boring, but he also made them look responsible, polite, and grown up, and made Ted Cruz look serious and knowledgeable, writes Jim Garratti at the National Review. The shining Marco Rubio turned in the best performance, Garrity writes, but Jeb Bush was dull and Mike Huckabee seemed tired. Nate Cohn at the New York Times also thinks Rubio had a good debate, as did Scott Walker and John Kasich, who advanced their causes with solid performances. Bush, however, wasn't especially strong, and Trump's weakest performance means he probably won't receive as much media attention coming out of the debate as he did in the weeks before it, Cohn writes. Trump was a winner for staying true to Trump, which is what got him at the top of the polls in the first place, but a loser for his Rosie O'Donnell remark. Other winners include hometown hero Kasich and the moderating team. Trump's combative, outlandish, and at times barely coherent performance is what the debate will be remembered for, writes Paul Lewis at The Guardian. Though he became quieter when the debate shifted to policy areas where he had little or nothing of substance to contribute. The Hill crunches the numbers and finds that Trump was mentioned a total of 17 times during the debate, 4 fewer mentions than either Hillary Clinton or ISIS, but 4 more than President Obama, and 10 more than Obamacare Benghazi. Than Obamacare. Benghazi, oddly, wasn't mentioned once. Trump's in-your-face routine fell a little flat in the debate hall, decides Glenn Thrush at Politico, and the contrast between him and the talented field of conservative governors and senators was not flattering. Walker, meanwhile, was a plodder. Thrush writes, but he had the best line of the night. It's sad to think right now, but probably the Russian and Chinese government know more about Hillary Clinton's email server than do the members of the United States Congress. Yeah, and that's it's funny because even though Benghazi may not have been mentioned by name, that was the whole thing. Was, oh no, Hillary has emails that she's not releasing. Whatever. Who cares? Anyway, moving on. What do we got? Oh yeah, speaking of ISIS, there was actually kind of a really funny story that happened involving ISIS, and this really kind of warms my heart a little bit. Like, if I knew who did this, if I could meet these people, I would gladly shake their hands. This is funny. And do you remember the one? Remember that story about your very, very distant relative who died in Nigeria, leaving you millions in unclaimed riches? Yeah, apparently ISIS hasn't heard that one. As the AP reports, 3 women in Chechnya are the subject of a police investigation for allegedly pulling a fast one on the terrorist group. A police rep describes the alleged scam thusly. The women created social media accounts, contacted ISIS, claimed they had no money for the trek to Syria, asked for the aforementioned money for the trek to Syria, took the cash, and closed their accounts. The women allegedly pulled in $200,000, or 200,000, whatever money they use, which unfortunately translates to only about $3,300. Good news for the threesome, though. They'll likely dodge punishment because ISIS would need to file a fraud complaint. You know, my problem is, just like what the story says, unfortunately they only got $3,300 out of these guys. But, I am all for stealing money from terrorist organizations. If you can get away with it, by all means, go for it. It's absolutely perfect to do something like that. It's just it just makes me smile. It really does. I don't think there's anything better than that. But on that note, speaking once again of terrorist acts in the Muslim world, again there is another problem. Assailants believed to be Islamist militants entered an apartment building posing as potential tenants and killed a secular blogger in Bangladesh's capital today. That was August 7th. Where was that? In the 4th such deadly attack this year, police said. Police official Mustafazir Rahman said 40-year-old Niloy Chowdhury was hacked to death in his apartment. The motive was not immediately clear, and no one claimed responsibility for the death. The victim's friends said he was a secular blogger and had a Facebook account with the name Niloy Neil, in which he criticized radical Islamists at home and abroad. The killing is the 4th of a secular blogger since February, when a Bangladeshi American man who was also critical of Islam, Avijit Roy, was hacked to death on the Dhaka University campus while walking with his wife. 2 others were attacked and killed in March and May, one in Dhaka and another in the northeastern city of Sylhet. Detectives say radical groups were behind the previous attacks and have made some arrests, but have failed to make any major headway into the killings. Now, some may see this as me going on from my position of safety here in the United States, but let's be honest, you're not safe anywhere in the world. Granted, I'm safer here than I would be in Bangladesh, but still, I will not back down. And I hope anybody else that has views similar to mine or similar to these people, don't back down either. This is how they win. It's I don't want to be hacked to death, but at the same time, I would much rather die, even a slow, painful death, than live for 1 minute under Sharia law. And if I have to live under religious law, you can damn well expect I will not be silent about it. It's, again, just my opinion, but these things are not okay. And the more of us that stand up and rise up and stand together, the less often this will happen. And it's, again, just my thought, but yeah. Moving on. Speaking of attacks with knives and such, two 13-year-old girls accused of trying to murder a classmate when they were 12 will find out today whether they will be tried as juveniles or adults, a decision that could make a difference of decades in prison. In what they told investigators was an attempt to please the fictional online Slenderman character, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire allegedly stabbed their friend 19 times and left her for dead in Waukesha, Wisconsin, last spring. They have been detained since the attack, and the judge's decision today will be closely watched by advocates for reform of the juvenile justice system, reports the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. The girls have been charged with attempted intentional first-degree homicide, a crime which could get them a 45-year sentence if they are tried as adults, reports the Journal-Sentinel. If they are treated as juveniles, they could be out before they turn 18. Fox 6 reports that mental health experts have testified over the last year that both girls would be better off in the juvenile system. Anissa is now in a juvenile security detention facility, and Fox 6 reports that she has done well in school, but spent time on suicide watch after bullying. Morgan's case is more complicated. The Journal-Sentinel notes she has been diagnosed with early-onset schizophrenia, but isn't receiving medication and has told psychiatrists that she still believes in the Slender Man. Now, if you're like me, personally, I'd never even heard of Slenderman. I didn't know what the hell it was. I didn't know anything about this, so I actually had to look it up. This is from Wikipedia. This is Slenderman's wiki page. The Slender Man, also known as Slenderman, is a fictional supernatural character that originated as an internet meme created by Something Awful forums user Eric Knudsen, aka Victor Surge, in 2009. It is depicted as resembling a thin, unnaturally tall man with a blank and usually featureless face, wearing a black suit. Stories of the Slender Man commonly feature him stalking, abducting, or traumatizing people, particularly children. The Slender Man is not confined to a single narrative, but appears in many disparate works of fiction, mostly composed online. Fiction relating to the Slender Man encompasses many media, including literature, art, and video series, such as Marble Hornets. Outside of online fiction, the Slender Man has had an impact on popular culture, having been referenced in the video game Minecraft, and generated video games of his own, such as Slender: The 8 Pages and Slender: The Arrival. Beginning in 2014, a minor moral panic occurred over the Slender Man after readers of his fiction were connected to several violent acts, particularly a near-fatal stabbing in Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is the story I just read. It just... I just find it funny that... Because, I mean, the Slender Man is the boogeyman of the 21st century, I guess. It's spooky. But what I find funny here is, scrolling down on the Wikipedia page, as folklore. Several scholars have argued that, despite being a fictional work with an identifiable origin point, the Slender Man represents a form of digital folklore. Shira Chess argues that the Slender Man exemplifies the similarities between traditional folklore and the open-source ethos of the Internet, and that, unlike those of traditional monsters such as vampires and werewolves, the fact that the Slender Man's mythos can be tracked and signposted offers a powerful insight into how myth and folklore form. Folklorist Jeff Tolbert has suggested that this process can be called reverse ostension. Ostension in folklorists is the process by acting out a folk narrative, and Slender Man does the opposite by creating a set of folklore-like narratives where none existed before. Similarly, Andrew Peck argues that the Slender Man constitutes a new form of digital folklore that combines the generic conventions of oral and visual storytelling with the collaborative potential of networked communication. I mean, basically what that comes down to is, now it's this terrifying demon thing that even though we know exactly where it came from, there are still going to be some people that think it's real. Like, Jade Helm 15 is a conspiracy to take over the country. Things like that. Really, I think people are checking their sense of sanity at the door. It pains me to classify myself as human sometimes because I look at what other humans think. Anyway, moving on. You know what? Here we go. It's a little early in the show for it, but, I think we'll go for it. For my usual segment of Asshole of the Week. And this one, for the first time, is an unknown, unnamed person. But no, this person's an asshole. Or group of people. I don't know. Anyway. A hitchhiking robot that captured the hearts of fans worldwide met its demise in the U.S. The Canadian researchers who created HitchBOT as a social experiment told the AP that someone in Philadelphia damaged the robot beyond repair on August 1st, ending its first American tour after about 2 weeks. The kid-sized robot was set out to travel cross-country after successfully hitchhiking across Canada in 26 days last year and parts of Europe. It is immobile on its own, and so it gets from place to place by relying on the kindness of strangers. It started in Marblehead, Massachusetts on July 17th, with its thumb raised skyward, a grin on its digital face, and taped around its cylindrical head and a sign taped around its cylindrical head that said, San Francisco or bust. It bounced around the Boston area and was briefly taken to sea. One day it took in a Red Sox game, but HitchBOT never made it off the East Coast. The creators were sent an image of the vandalized robot yesterday, but cannot track its location because the battery is dead. They said they don't know who destroyed it or why, but co-creator Frauke Zeller said many children who adored the robot are now heartbroken. HitchBOT was designed to be a talking travel companion and could toss out factoids and carry limited conversation. A GPS in the robot tracked its location, and a camera randomly snapped photos about every 20 minutes to document its travels. During past travels, the robot attended a comic convention and a wedding, and it had its portrait painted in the Netherlands. It once spent a week with a heavy metal band. This is one of those things where I really wish that I had a larger base of listeners. If I had like a huge national audience all over the place, I would put out a call to action. Actually, you know what? I may not be able to reach a whole lot of people with this right now, but I'm reaching you. Maybe you know some people. Seriously, put the feelers out on Facebook, on MySpace if you still use that, or Twitter, whatever you want. We are looking for HitchBOT. I don't think, it's not up to us, the civilians, to bring any kind of crimes against whoever did this, but I really think that it would be great for the people that created this robot to at least get their friend back. That's not cool, man. The biggest problem is in my head I'm flashing back to like the main humanoid robot movies over the last couple decades. Most recently, Chappie. They tried to kill Chappie. That's not cool. Going all the way back to the 80s with Short Circuit. No disassemble Johnny 5. Seriously, this thing may not have feelings and emotions, but, that doesn't mean you can't treat it with a little bit of respect. Again, just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong in this. I just don't think I am. But kind of on a similar note of people destroying things and killing things they shouldn't be killing. 6 suspected tiger poachers in Bangladesh aren't going to make it to trial. Officials tell the BBC that the gang members were killed in a shootout after opening fire on police, and officers found the skins of 3 endangered Bengal tigers that had been killed just days earlier. The men were killed at their hideout in the Sundarbans, the world's largest mangrove forest, where there has been a huge fall in tiger numbers, the AP reports. A recent survey found only around 100 tigers, where 440 tigers were recorded in 2004. Some of the drop is believed to be due to different survey methods, although authorities say rampant poaching is also to blame. It's personally, I have no issue with hunting an animal for food. I can almost understand hunting an animal for trophy. Almost. I do have a couple qualms about that, but I look at it as, for example, if I were to go out and shoot a deer, that's fine. First out, you can be certain I'm taking the meat. I am going to eat the meat. But, if it's a perfect shot and it's a beautiful looking head, I have no problem taking that head down to a taxidermist and getting it mounted either. But I'm not going to go kill a deer just for its head. I'm not going to kill a tiger for any reason whatsoever. Mainly because anybody that's eaten the meat of a carnivore, that meat's just no good. It's something about just the way that the muscles are. It's really tough and really nasty. But anyway, that's irrelevant. The whole point being, they're not eating these tigers. They're just, killing them and stripping them for their skins. Or their bones, or who knows what the hell they're doing. The point is, they shouldn't be doing it, but they're doing it anyway. And it's yet another unacceptable example of the cruelty that humans are capable of. Anyway, moving on to slightly, and by slightly I mean excessively, less depressing stories. Archaeologists digging for ruins ahead of a new construction project in Jerusalem made an incredible discovery that immediately began to vanish. During the last hours of a salvage excavation 2 months ago, the Israel Antiquities Authority stumbled upon a 2,000-year-old ritual bath when a stone suddenly disappeared into a black hole, reports Haaretz. That hole turned out to be the remains of the bath, accessible by a stone staircase which includes an anteroom with benches and a wine press. Carved into a natural stone cave, the bath itself wasn't so unusual, but the graffiti that covered the plaster walls was. Archaeologists were therefore horrified to find the Aramaic inscriptions and paintings in mud and soot, dating to the Second Temple era from around 530 BC to 70 AD, per Discovery News, disappearing within hours of their discovery. The wall paintings are so sensitive that their exposure to the air causes damage to them, the IAA says, per Ynet News. Crews quickly removed and sealed the plaster so the graffiti, along with a few carvings, can be preserved. Archaeologists say the Aramaic inscriptions are particularly special, as few such writings have been found, though the script is hardly legible now. They guess at a few words, including what translates to served and the name Cohen. Still, the inscriptions back up the argument that Aramaic was commonly used at the time, and perhaps even the language of Jesus. The plaster also holds drawings of a boat, palm trees, and other plants, and what might be a menorah, portrayals of which were then considered taboo. An IAA representative says graffiti in baths may have been common, but not usually preserved. which that's kind of cool. I, I'm just picturing some guy 2,000 years ago in the bathhouse with mud on his thumb writing, you know, Joe was here for a good time. Call Susie at 555. It's I would laugh if that was the content of the graffiti. I think that would be perfect. Yeah. uh, but anyway, on another historical note, actually something that has always kind of piqued my interest for I was maybe goodness, I think I was in the fourth grade, so I was what, 8, I think, when I first heard about the mystery of Roanoke Island. It was an island of it was a group of English colonists that just disappeared overnight. There was no clues as to where they went, apparently until now. The mystery of Roanoke Island may be one for the books. 2 archaeological teams have dug up new evidence pointing to the fate, of English colonists who mysteriously vanished from the North Carolina island 425 years ago, National Geographic reports. One collection of items appears to support the long-held theory that some colonists moved to Hatteras Island, about 50 miles southeast of Roanoke. The evidence is that they assimilated with the Native Americans, but kept their goods, says Chief Archaeologist Mark Horton. Among the Hatteras Island's finds, a small bit of a slate writing tablet marked by the letter M, a rapier hilt likely dating to the late 16th century, and pieces of iron, ingot, and stoneware apparently dating to the same period. What's more, the name of a Native American settlement on Hatteras Island, Croatoan, was found etched into a post in 1590, when all the colonists had vanished. For the second find, archaeologists used a map drawn by colony governor John White in 1585. The map includes an X obscured by a patch, and may have been a cover-up to keep information from the public and from foreign agents. A historian told National Geographic 2 years ago. The X marked a site on Albemarle Sound, an estuary in North Carolina, where archaeologists recently discovered dozens of pottery pieces that resemble others found on Roanoke Island. So is this finally proof? Not really, because it's hard to date items precisely or know how they got there. What we found is tantalizing, a volunteer says. I would love to see some definitive evidence, but what we have is fragmentary. That's kind of cool. To me, that's like the first great American mystery of where did these people go? It just, once again, they were there one night and the next night they were gone. No obvious signs of them having moved, no obvious place of where they would have gone to. It's curious, very curious. How much time are we looking at? Oh, about 11 minutes. All right, I went through those stories a lot quicker than I thought I would. Let's go ahead and find another one. Here we go. Here's a good one. Kind of. It's one that suits me and my thoughts. 5 reasons the Bible cannot coexist with the Constitution. Ever. Conservative comedians are rarely funny, but then anyone who punches down is rarely funny. The comedian who makes fun of the poor and the helpless is little better than the schoolyard bully who stole your lunch money growing up. Good humor requires self-awareness and an understanding and empathy for others. There are exceptions, of course, but their humor is rarely political. Stephen Chowder is not one of those exceptions. His latest blog, entitled 5 Reasons the Quran Can Never Coexist with the Constitution, Ever, excellently illustrates the dearth of conservative self-awareness and empathy. Why is that? A secular government is incompatible with every religious text, and to help illustrate, here are 5 reasons why the Bible cannot coexist with the Constitution. Ever. Sorry, I'm having a little troubles with my computer here. There we go. Number 1, it disallows freedom of speech. Come on, computer. Stupid window keeps maximizing and minimizing on me. There we go. All right. Christians like to claim that our freedoms are found in the Bible, but nothing could be further from the truth. The most sacred of freedoms, freedom of speech, is not respected by their holy text. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Exodus 27. That's a form of censorship, but the Bible is just getting started. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Exodus 24. There goes all art, including animation, comic books, picture books, and, depending on how you want to define grave image, movies. Censoring all the arts in one fell swoop. This also censors all medical textbooks, chemistry textbooks, and IKEA instruction manuals, perfectly compatible with freedom of speech. For every one that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death. He hath cursed his father or mother, his blood shall be upon him. Leviticus 29. So, just to paraphrase here, if you say anything bad about your parents, it's death to you. That's freedom of speech, Bible style. Stalin is green with envy. Women as second-class citizens? Nope, they're barely people. To the Bible, women are chattel and little else. Chattel is a big fancy word meaning property. Speak to the sons of Israel, saying, when a woman gives birth and bears a male child, then she shall be unclean for 7 days, as in the days of her menstruation she shall be unclean. On the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised. Then she shall remain in the blood of her purification for 33 days. She shall not touch any consecrated thing, nor enter the sanctuary until the days of her purification are completed. But if she bears a female child, then she shall be unclean for 2 weeks, as in her menstruation, and she shall remain in the blood of her purification for 66 days. Leviticus 12, 2-5. So not only are women on their period expected to be segregated, if a woman bears a female child, she actually gets punished. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. 1 Corinthians 11:3. Women can't lead, men lead women. That by default makes them second-class citizens at least. There are plenty of churches today that teach this. Here is my virgin daughter and his concubine. Please let me bring them out to you that you may ravish them and do to them whatever you wish. But do not commit such an act of folly against this man. But the men would not listen to him. So the man seized his concubine and brought her out to them. And they raped her and abused her all night until morning. Then let her go at the approach of dawn. As the day began to dawn, the woman came and fell down at the doorway of the man's house where her master was, until full daylight. Judges 19:24 and 25. This one is presented without without comment. Notice how the Bible doesn't so much as hint at compassion for the poor woman. A woman must quietly receive instruction with entire submissiveness. But I do not allow a woman to teach or exercise authority over a man, but to remain quiet. For it was Adam who was first created, and then Eve. And it was not Adam who was deceived, but the woman being deceived, fell into transgression. But women will be preserved through the bearing of children if they continue in faith and love and sanctity with self-restraint. 1 Timothy 2:11-14. Pardon. There are a few other mythologies that match the sheer contempt for women that's put on display in the Christian Bible. Greco-Roman mythology is the first that springs to mind, but there are certainly others. This, however, is a faith in which women are barely people, leave off second-class citizens. So in that sense, the Quran is actually an improvement. The Bible allows for violence against fellow man. To list all the reasons would take up too much space here, but I'll supply you with one of my favorite quotes. If your brother, your mother's son, or your son or daughter, or the wife you cherish, or your friend who is as your own soul, entice you secretly, saying, "Let us go and serve other gods, whom neither you nor your fathers have known, of the gods of the peoples who are around you, near you or far from you, from one end of the earth to the other end. You shall not yield to him or listen to him, and your eye shall not pity him, nor shall you spare or conceal him, but you shall surely kill him. Your hand shall be first against him to put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. So you shall stone him to death, because he has sought to seduce you from the Lord your God, who brought you out from the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery." Deuteronomy 13:6-10. Basically, what that's saying is Christians need to kill me. Well, actually, it's saying Jews, technically, because it wasn't the Christians that were in the land of Egypt in the house of slavery, but anyway. Sexual slavery is A-OK and perfectly moral. Both thy bondsmen and thy bondsmaids, whichever thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are around you. Of them shall ye buy bondsmen and bondsmaids. Leviticus 25:44. But if the slave plainly says, "I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out as a free man," then his master shall bring him to God. Then he shall bring him to the door of the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him permanently. Okay, I haven't heard. Oh, here we go. Here's the sexual slavery part. If a man sells his daughter as a female slave, she is not to go free as the male slaves do. If she is displeasing in the eyes of her master who designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He does not have authority to sell her to a foreign people because of his unfairness to her. If he designates her for his son, he shall deal with her according to the custom of daughters. If he takes to himself another woman, he may not reduce her food, her clothing, or her conjugal rights. If he will not do these three things for her, then she shall go out for nothing, without payment of money. Yeah. Anyway, since we're running short on time now, I'll go ahead and read this last one. Freedom of religion. I can kill any illusions that Christians have that the Bible supports freedom of religion with one quote from God himself. "Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me." So the Christian God is a jealous and angry God who will punish people who follow other faiths or worship at idols down to the third and fourth generations. But I suppose that's okay. I mean, it's not like he's doing something truly outrageous like punishing them to the fifth generation, because that'd be too much. Wow. And the Bible is totally incompatible with a secular government, just like any other holy book. I mean, to even pretend that the Bible holds some special place in our legal system, it's just delusional. It's delusional, it's painful, and it goes against any form of rational thought. But then again, also, who said that Christian right-wingers are rational? Anyway. So, yeah, we're looking at about 45 seconds left. Do I have anything quick I can throw in? Probably not. Actually, I can put in a really quick announcement for anybody that's going to be in the greater Minneapolis-St. Paul area of Minnesota. On Saturday, September 12th, I will be at Meister's Bar and Grill in Shoreview, Minnesota, performing open mic stand-up comedy night. Anybody that's interested, come on by, come check it out. It's always a great show. In the meantime, this has been Brain Power. The next show, assuming I can, stick to the Sunday schedule, will be Sunday, August 16th, And as usual, if you have a story you'd like covered here or a question you'd like answered, send me a message on Twitter at BrainPowerUp. Use the hashtag BrainPowerUp, like the group at facebook.com/BrainPowerOnline, or visit the website at brainpoweronline.webs.com.